Welcome back everyone dito sa latest episode ng Deep Dive. Kasama na naman natin ito, isa sa ating mga paborito mga abogados na involved sa ICC issues. Not that we have many of them, no, but kidding aside, Attorney Christina Conte, thank you so much for making time. We were hoping to catch up earlier since yung last meeting natin dyan sa The Hague na ang dami pala nangyari since then. And I'm glad na nevertheless ngayon tayo nagka-catch up because still there are some important developments, including the fact na eto na, meron na tayong announcement sino maging judges dito sa final. I'm not talking about, I'm sorry, I'm not talking about a contest or something. I'm talking about yung trial of the century, which is a trial of President Rodrigo Duterte. I just got to know that Prosecutor Karim Khan is actually coming over here sa Oxford for talk at the Oxford Union. So I was just checking that right before this interview. Attorney, kamusta ka naman? I want to ask a little bit about kamusta ang kalagayan natin. How is the situation? How are folks, yung mga families of the victims? Some of them we had the privilege of meeting and hearing from sa Hague the other month.
Well, panatag. Kasi compared to, what was this, 2 weeks ago, yung decision tungkol sa jurisdiction, although appeal na, syempre, kakabahan ka pa rin. Naku, paano pag sinabi ng ICC, wala. Although confident kami, nandun pa rin yung last minute. And then, nandun naman yung susunod na tanong, magtutuloy ba sa trial? Buti na lang, isang gabi lang ang inabot dun sa paghihintay ng desisyon. Kaya masayang-masaya yung families. Hindi mo nga maintindihan kung parang feeling nga, convicted na eh. Ganun yung ano nila, saya nila kasi every step of the way parang tinatrato talaga nila na victory.
Can we talk about that more, attorney? No, I mean, matagal na natin pinag-usapan yun na medyo malabo talaga yung strategy nila, Kaufman and all, and whatever is gonna happen in the coming days and weeks. Medyo na-anticipate na natin na matagal. In addition dun sa mga bato and all of other things na pwede natin pag-usapan later on. But nevertheless, parang there was always yung parang may window of uncertainty or worry, no? Paano nyo na-manage yan in terms of stress and pressure? Kasi I could imagine nightmare na nga yung nangyaring EJK. Nightmare na nga yung ginagawa sa mga pamilya nila. Lalong nightmare yun kung hindi natuloy itong trial na to at nakalusot itong mga tao na to. I could have imagined that would have been really doubly or triply traumatizing sa mga pamilya ng mga biktima.
Yes, and considering na we have been introducing this concept of the ICC to them since 2018. Actually, even a bit earlier, nung pinag-uusapan namin, naalala ko ba iba pa kaming pinag-usapan, pero yung ICC, ano naman yan? Pero yung konsepto kasi ng ICC, medyo alien, sabihin na natin. Buti na lang, medyo naging, kumbaga, madali. Kasi panahon din to na nagkaka-issue sa China. So, actually kaya gano'n ang kumbaga hugot namin eh, na kapag may problema ka at pang-international, meron ka pang ibang mapupuntahan. Kaya although kakaiba lang talaga dito sa sistema sa ICC, maski mga Pilipinong abogado, hindi pa masyadong nagigets. Pero parang sabi nga nila, attorney, mukhang hindi naman namin maiintindihan ng buong buo. Pero sige, kapit kamay lang. Kaya even for the families, there's something new to learn every day.
Yun nga eh. Actually, attorney, of course, yung after interview natin sa The Hague, no, dun sa press conference and all, medyo umikot-ikot ako at nagtanong-tanong dun sa mga kaibigan natin, including those people who gave me a heads up dun sa warrants of arrest ng Duterte and all. And to be honest, ayoko naman sabihin na run down na and all, but the ICC as an institution look a little bit under siege. I mean, wala na yung dati nilang spokesman, maraming abogado na lang. I mean, I'm not gonna say more, baka ma-weaponize ba ito ng mga masasamang tao. But you know, I talk to people, including mga tao na against ICC, some lawyers based here in the UK who argued for certain governments. I think people can guess which governments are there na against ICC and against dun sa warrant of arrest sa leader nila. So I was a little bit medyo part of me may parang bittersweet na parang eto na I was very optimistic na papunta na tayo dito, but at the same time you could see na under siege talaga ang ICC, and we can see now Karim Khan is doing interviews going around now, coming over dito sa Oxford to give a talk. So kamusta ang kalagayan ng ICC without giving too much to dun sa mga masasamang tao in terms of expectations, but it looked to me a little bit under siege, to put it mildly.
It is under siege, especially with sanctions from the US. which is all-encompassing kasi yung sanctions, again, property siya and transactions. Ang kaya mo mararamdaman na teka, sukdulan na to because they had their judges speak to the press about the impact of the sanctions. So merong judge na kinikwento yung personal life niya. Even in the Philippines, di ba? Parang bihira kang makarinig na yung judge ay pumupunta sa media at ganitong klase ang sinasabi. Sa ICC na in a way, kontrolado din nila ang kanilang public kumbaga, face for them to send out the judges and approve na sabihin ng mga judges kung ano. At hindi lang isa, ilan ng judges ang nagsalita. Kaya parang wow, medyo under siege. But at the same time, makikita mo yung resilience. Kakaiba yung kumbaga, tina-target nila, ano ba yung problema? So, kunyari hindi sila maka-access ng Microsoft, let's see how else can we do this? Hindi tayo maka-access ng pera from the US. Maybe we can find that money from elsewhere and mostly from Europe. At yung nakakatuwa, recently yung tinatrack namin sa Trust Fund for Victims, sorry, but it's small countries. Parang Slovakia, Slovenia, etc. are contributing to the Trust Fund for Victims. And that's something for us, bagaman maliit. Kasi ang Trust Fund for Victims po, ito yung pera na ginagamit pang supplement, pandagdag, dun sa hindi mabayaran nung akusado na merong penalty, may pinapabayad sa kanya, ang magsusupplement nun, mga bansa. At itong particular na trust fund na ito, hindi ito magagalaw. Ito lang yung, kumbaga, hindi ito dapat i-malversation. Naka-allocate ito for victims reparations and projects kung sakali na even earlier than conviction. So yung Trust Fund for Victims parang medyo lumalaki at maliliit na bansa ang nagko-contribute. Kaya parang two ways itong pwedeng tingnan. True, you can have the big countries band together and say, bala na, kanya-kanya tayo, ganun. But if you have the small countries come together and say, teka, we need international law as an equalizing factor, then pagpapakita yun ng, on one end, ito ang kayang gawin ng maliliit, on the other end, ito, mag-away ang mga quote-unquote malalaki. Crucial din, I think, yung decision ng Pilipinas dun sa jurisdiction. That would have been, kasi kung yun, yung mismong decision na pag sinabi, wala kaming jurisdiction, ang impact nun, you have all these countries where crimes have been committed saying, exit na lang kami bago pa kami maimbestigahan. Which was precisely, or kind of what happened in Hungary. But, in that case, so napalitan yung presidente nila na gumawa di umano ng mga krimen. Kaya, kumbaga, there is hope in the world kahit paano. So, it must be possible that Hungary will rejoin the ICC. And if so, some crimes committed during the time of Orban could be covered by an ICC investigation, if ever. Hindi pa naman nagbubukas. Pero kumbaga may pag-asa para sa maliliit na tao din.
No, but yun nga napakamahalaga. I was just about to ask about Hungary kasi the other year when I was in Hungary for a talk, I think yun pa yung time na si Prime Minister Netanyahu was in town. Despite having an ICC warrant of arrest in him. So there was a big event there. Nakita ko biglang paglabas ko dun sa... nag-speech pa nga ako sa Danube Institute na nalaman ko itong institute pa ni Orban. So binabash ako ng mga friends ko. So ano ko ba? I just went there to talk about geopolitics. Hindi ako pro-Orban or something. So medyo nag-dive in din ako sa Hungarian politics because interesting may mga nakita kong MAGA people who were against Orban. Sabi na, masyado siyang maraming welfare. Kasi si Orban, populist din hindi lang right-wing populist. So, interesting, may mga MAGA rin ako nakita ng mga big-time MAGA na ayaw rin sa kanya. Sabi ko, malabo to. But speaking of smaller countries, yun nga napansin ko, Hungary is quote-unquote a small country, pero napakamahalaga yung role niya. I mean, Viktor Orban was basically shaping the agenda of political right sa Europe, if not Europe of the future, no? Na more nationalist, na more more introverted, more insular, among other things. And of course, Viktor Orban, malaking kanyang role, whether on the Russia issue, on Netanyahu issue, among other things. So now that you have a new prime minister na parang ex-DDS din nila na nag-defect. Kaya nga sabi ko, let's be nice to ex-DDS. Next thing you know, yung pa yung maging presidente natin. Na bumaliktad at eventually, kasi yung wife pa niya, Justice Minister ni Orban, chinismis sa kanya, ni-record niya. I mean, grabe. I think people have to watch what happened in Hungary. Sobrang crazy. Imagine, Viktor Orban, my
Yeah.
German minister, nagmamarites, nagdi-divorce na sila, ni-record ng asawa. Yung asawa din ni-record yung kanilang intimate moments, nagka-compromise sila. It was crazy. And over YouTube niya, basically, ginawa kasi lahat ng mga media nakuha ni Orban. But nevertheless, Orban being out, ang laki ng impact dito sa Europe. Eh. Everyone's talking about, welcome back Hungary to Europe, mga ganon. And I'm very glad you mentioned Slovenia, Slovakia. I've been to Estonia, some of these Baltic countries also. Actually, sila, may interest din sila, hindi lang dahil maliit sila. Because Russia, di ba? May ICC warrant of arrest kay Putin eh. Galit din sila sa Russia. And of course, they want to help Ukraine. Yung mga biktima ng aggression ng Russia, based on which, of course, kinasuhan ang Russia. So, you have many of the smaller countries in Europe na actually pag nagsama sila, I think they have significant resources, no? At saka significant
Yeah.
investment. Ayoko na pag-usapan yung mga mas malalaking bansa dito sa Europe kasi alam natin nagtitiptoe sila for geopolitical reasons. But let's see where that goes. That could also change in the coming months and weeks. But going back to this, um, nevertheless, dun sa mga nakausap ko sa Hague, nasabi nila,
Mm.
medyo pressured ang ICC. Pero sabi nila, kaya hindi nila bibitawan si Digong. Basically, yun yung, kaya lalo nilang hindi
That's the
bibitawan. Yun ang huling El Bimbo
correct.
nila. Parang ganun yung mindset daw ngayon.
So that's the defense's position. I think I heard that from one of the statements of the defense team that that is the big fish or something, big catch. Kaya talagang hindi bibitawan. Pero ako, the politics in this case takes as a backstage siya eh. Hindi siya, kumbaga, swabe sa legal. Meron talagang basis. Kumbaga, kahit devoid of politics, I would say that the ICC would have held on to Duterte. And I would even say, it is, kung magiging political lang tayo, no? Kung politika pag-uusapan, mas okay para sa ICC na umatras because of the support. I mean, perceived support for the Dutertes in the Philippines. Why go against a popular politician? And kumbaga, hindi safe for the ICC to go after someone who, although, yun na nga, tapos, ano pa, this is someone who is seen not only as a, kumbaga, politician na, hindi katulad ng, paano ba, this is somebody like Hitler, na yung may charisma. So, this is someone, hindi rin Trump eh, no? Pero yung tatay, I think now the ICC is coming to terms with that concept. It's very Asian, yung na-realize ko. Well, it's not really very Asian, pero in most countries din talaga, di ba, may if you're a father
Traditional,
figure,
oo.
pero yung tatay, ganun, pag sinabing ganun, you defer to him everything, ganun, di ba, pag Asian cultures. Kaya the mere fact that may ganung concept na you have a whole 32 million or 16 million ba yan of Filipinos supporting him, politically, ano ba, unpopular, politically wrong for the ICC to pursue. Kaya, this is, for me, it's a legal decision. It's very sound. And also, we're always reminded that the judges try as much as possible to stay away from politics. Yung politics, kung yung itsura po kasi ng ICC, meron silang Assembly of State Parties. Yung mga representante ng bansa, doon nag-aaway-away, doon kayo mamulitika, doon kayo magsingilan. O bakit hindi mo hinuli? Di ba dumaan sa bansa mo, nga Hungary. Dumaan sa bansa mo yung ganitong wanted, hindi mo ginalaw, ganon. But the legal is an entirely different matter, which is why, kung sa Pilipinas nga, we're reminded, sino ba ang naging judge na Pilipino? Hindi natin, kumbaga, hindi natin pinakialaman in terms of politics. Bahala siya. He will have to decide on the merits of the case. That's Judge Pangalangan. He has retired. Ano ba? Tapos na yung term niya from the court. Pero from what we hear, walang ginanansya yung Pilipinas sa kanya, in a sense. Kumbaga, walang nilakad ang Pilipinas, walang pinulitika, ibinulong, walang anything. So, it's kind of refreshing in a sense.
Ah, Klaruhin ko lang hindi ko ibig sabihin na parang politika ito in a negative sense na parang may mga special interest dyan or na-weaponize ang batas. Ang ibig ko sabihin more at the level of existential challenge. Kasi
Yeah.
ang parating sinasabi sa ICC, o puro lang kayong ganito or wala naman kayong nagawa, di ba? Purong ganun yung parang parating kine-question yung kanilang value. Ano yung raison d'etre nila? Anong ambag nila sa buhay, kumbaga, di ba? So that's why etong issue ay mahalaga because ang pinag-usapan dito is potentially tens of thousands of people na pinatay, 'di ba? So, hindi ito politika in a sense na para lang may mema, pero politika in a sense
Mm.
that walang kasiguraduhan na how long can ICC maintain its momentum at its resources and capabilities and cooperation ng ibang bansa. At ito na nga, in a way, they were able to get the first Asian head of state, someone very powerful, someone very influential here. And therefore, talagang hindi nila bibitawan yan precisely because of those realistic circumstances. So I meant it in that sense kasi I think people
Wow.
sometimes forget na when we talk about politics, we don't talk about yung parang in a negative sense, but we talk about yung institutional realities, no? And challenges. Interestingly, actually, the word tatay comes from an Aztec word na kinuha natin sa Mexico
Mm.
via so marami tayong words actually sa kamote, mga ganun. These are not actually Filipino or Spanish words.
Oh,
They're
because
from
of the galleon
yeah,
trade.
exactly,
Mm.
galleon trade. So, I can imagine kung may Latin American na drug lord or narco lord na makuha, for sure maraming supporters din yan, hindi lang troll farms, di ba? So, I can imagine there'll be a Codillo, strongman, narco king, or something like that from Latin America one day. And I'm sure this time, ICC will be ready to be bashed and trolled and everything like that.
Yeah. And sorry, that's interesting as well kasi parang yun na yung shift ngayon na to characterize the war on drugs as kumbaga something more. Parang war on terror. You have Venezuela. Si Maduro is being indicted ba? Ano na bang status ng case niya? Pero ang sabi, it's his drug ties more than anything else. More than, kumbaga, anong ginawa niya talaga sa Venezuela or about the Venezuelan people. It's more of how he facilitated the drug trade from Venezuela to the US, di umano. So, yung ganon, yan yung other side of the question that we're also looking at. Kasi as it turns out, this is one of the few cases. Of course, every case is very specific. Pero yung, kumbaga, war on drugs, a policy, a legal policy, something that is on paper, quote-unquote, good. Kaya maraming supporters. Compared to, in other instances, these are clearly war crimes. Nag-aaway tong mga taong ito, tapos one side declared war on the other. Hutus versus Tutsis, parang ganon. Ito, war on drugs. Everybody should support a war on drugs. Pero in practice, this is what happened. So, magandang ano daw to, magandang question for the international community. Up to when should they step in? At papasok na naman yung sovereignty issues and so forth. But then, if we focus on the issues, makikita natin nag-unravel or paulit-ulit na lang yung ibang argumento ng mga DDS.
I mean, obviously, wala nga tayong time na pag-usapan yung Venezuela kasi di pa tayo tapos sa Venezuela, nag-Iran war. I think there are even discussions na baka dun sa yung mga school children na namatay sa Iran, no, dahil sa faulty AI, di ba? Minab, di ba? Pwede dalhin din ito sa ICC because probably some people relax certain rules and safeguards at kaya nangyaring massive error na yan. Kasi yung AI na ginamit dun sa pangbomba sa Iran, was using faulty or late information eh. So akala nila military sites yun yung pala may mga naging eskwela na, no? So very, very tragic. Yeah. I think this is one of the saddest thing I've seen in recent memory. And then of course, baka next thing we know, bati Cuba, in-invade na kasi hindi gumana sa Iran, maghanap na naman si tatay, yung isa pang tatay, ng iba na naman na para lang may masabi siya na may victory siya because clearly nag-fail yung sa Iran. So, it looks like ICC will be more relevant in the days and months to come, unfortunately, because I don't see the world going more quiet. If anything, a certain person is gonna refuse to go quietly into the night. So baka it will get scarier. Pero balikan muna natin dito sa Pilipinas, no, Attorney Conti. So where are we right now? Because na-announce na yung judges, no, ng at least for us, the trial of the century. Anong timeline tinitignan natin? Anong dynamics tinitignan natin? Di ba sui generis? Each case is a sui generis. But nevertheless, based on case yung mga previous parang case studies and all, ano yung mga dapat ma-expect natin? And anong relevance ito? Ibig sabihin tapos na yung Kaufman jurisdiction hanash. Hindi talaga gagana yan,
It
no?
should
It's out.
be.
It's dead. Deads na yan.
Yeah, it should be. Pero unfortunately, I've seen some Filipino lawyers of the quote-unquote defense team. Ito yung ah, pinag-aawayan pa ngayon kasi komplikado nga naman kapag nagpasok ka ng ng defense or defense lawyers na hindi naman declared sa ICC, have not sworn kumbaga, there's an oath that you do before the ICC to protect the proceedings, to protect the interests of your client, etc., who will not follow the code of ethics, sabihin na natin. So that's the only problem I'm seeing. Kung in terms of the defense team na kilala natin sa The Hague, okay na sila, give up na sila dun sa jurisdiction. Pero may iba na, ayan, wala namang jurisdiction yung ICC. Ano ba? Anyway, what we're looking at is a hearing in 25 days. So, 25, mali ba yung math ko? 24? On May
Hey,
27th.
wow, this
So,
month na ulit. Oh,
pinatawag
wow, yeah.
ng ICC ang isang status conference hearing. And the way they phrased it, I'm looking at the announcement, they will live stream this hearing. So, it's going to be the first hearing with these judges. Ano lang to, updating, kamusta kayo, anong nangyayari, okay ba tayo sa submission of evidence, nakuha nyo na ba? And then, they're asking the detention conditions. So siguro gusto nilang ma-update and will feel our way through these things. Pero initial pa lang po ito. Pwedeng magkaroon ng iba pang mga status conference hearings. Some not publicized. But ang tansya ko, trial could start from between October to latest na yung February 2027.
Attorney, I mean, obviously, I don't want to ask too much about this because, again, but what does case law tell us? I mean, mga previous rulings on similar cases to the degree that possible to compare this despite sui generis nature.
As to conviction,
Yeah, I mean, direction of the wind, what are we looking at? So far naman, lahat ng prediction natin tumama eh. Whether yung mga warrants of arrest sa mga kaibigan natin dyan na MIA pa rin, pebbles na, or whether itong hindi gagana itong mga palusot at mga hanash ng defense team.
well, itong sa defense, so totoo, there's one thing na we haven't really put our finger on, yung anong defense ni Duterte sa trial. Kasi we had an inkling or parang merong mga binabato na ang argument ng defense kaya daw hindi guilty si Duterte ay dahil sinabi niya lang yon not intending for people to die. That's one. 'Di ba? Yung parang hindi naman siya yung nag-utos talaga ng patayan.
Nagjo-joke lang.
Joke lang, oo. That's not the intention. Two, there was this other, kumbaga, kung hindi gumana yun, ito naman yung isa pa. The killings, it's too little compared to the entire, kumbaga, universe of violations. It's only 3% yung number of dead compared to the number of arrested. And I was so thankful that that was raised. Medyo una, 3% lang pala yung namatay eh. But then again, in the context of 300,000 people arrested. So now the judges are in possession of that information that that kind of number had their rights probably violated. Kaya parang mapapaisip lalo ang judge, it could also be crimes against humanity in the acts of imprisonment. Part din yan ng concept or ng definition ng crimes against humanity. So, yun daw. So, konti lang naman daw yung patayan, which mirrors the Facebook arguments. Ilan ba yan? Ganun. Which will fail.
Parang may
Kasi nga,
kilala akong bansa na ganyan yung mga arguments parate pag maraming namatay sa mga giyera nila, no?
hindi lang naman.
May kilala akong bansa na ganun na. Tanungin natin si Kaufman, baka alam niya sin yan. Yung mga ganyan na mathematical spinning nila, ay hindi, ang population naman ganito. So kung ganyan namatay, ano lang yan, 1% lang yan. So hindi yan
Mhm.
mass, kumaga slaughter. Therefore, hindi siya mag-meet ng definition ng ganito, ganyan. Like, parang
Baka
similar
maliit
sa
na
akin.
lugar lang.
Oo,
Oo,
mali.
ay maliit na
I've
lugar.
heard yung mga ganun, may mga variation na ng team ako nakikita eh. Actually, the more I think about it, marami ako narinig mga panon ni Digong na parang, wait lang, parang yung mga ganyan spinning, I know may pinanggalingan ito eh. I always thought it's Russia. But the more I think about it, probably it's not only Russia. There are other interesting case models for yung mga ganitong spin doctor dynamics. Dahil I don't know how good Kaufman is as a lawyer, but let's see in terms of spinning niya. Well, before we go back to the Philippines, dun muna tayo sa Purgatorio. So, andun pa rin po sa namin
Yeah.
sino unang uwi, si Zaldi or Harry. And I was just about to finalize yung bet na yan na si Zaldi pala ang uuwi. Kasi ako Harry ako eh. So I was just about to ready na ako magbayad kay Associate Justice Ronald Llamas. Kasi siya Zaldi siya, ako Harry ako eh.
Teka,
Um,
associate justice na ba? Akala ko
oh,
senator.
medyo ano, it's a moving target. Nag-evolve ang kanyang mga public roles.
Okay.
Wag lang siya maging defense minister, hindi na ako babalik sa Pilipinas. Pag siyang defense minister, hindi na tayo uwi, alis tayong lahat. Maano tayo dyan. Um, Maretag tayo ni Sir Ronald. But kidding aside, going back to this, ano ba nangyari doon? Check-in, tapos nag-check out siya from Czech Republic. Ano ba nangyari? Nag-check-in lang, nag-check. Nagpadala pa tayo ng Justice Secretary. What the heck is going on there?
Hindi ko din naintindihan. From what I understand, it turns out parang minor lang yung infraction niya, which why he was held. So I don't know why the Czech authorities had no information about the standing orders. I don't know. So it could be it's because there's no political will. Hindi ko kasi matanggap na hindi nila alam kung anong gagawin. Parang gano'n na hindi sa hindi niyo alam kung anong gagawin, someone along the chain would have known what to do. Pero in this case, I think it's intentional na makalaya siya pero mapatikim lang na ay kunyari inahabol namin. Alam niyo yung tipong habulan ni na Tom and Jerry sa mga cartoon. Nahuli na tapos makakatakas na ulit yung daga sa pusa. Sa habol-habol ulit, oops! Ganun. Hanggang kahuli-hulihan, pareho pa rin naman silang
So
buhay.
kung Jerry si Zaldi, ano si Harry?
Oh! Well,
Yung ano
ganun pa
yung
rin. Aso't,
oh,
aso't pusa pa rin. Buhay pa rin hanggang ngayon eh.
yung beep beep beep
Ah,
beep yung tumatakbo na mabilis yung
si
yung coyote
Roadrunner.
at saka oyat beep 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 beep. Baka may
Pwede.
magaganon siya.
Pwede. Kasi ang ano din, maingay din. So, I don't know in that case, pero wala pa akong hindi pa ako nakikipag-bet dyan. Pero I really have a feeling that si Harry Roque will be sent home, that his asylum request will be denied,
So
unfortunately.
you're with me na more Harry ang mukhang may chance kaysa kay Zaldi, no? Kasi kala natin yun na yun, eh, Zaldi na yun, the president
Pero
announced.
hindi yung oras. Kasi there's many ways to dribble these scenarios. Pero ako definitely mapapauwi.
Pero pero if you're Harry, 'di ba? Parang your dream scenario is manalo si Sarah next and then pag-usapan natin shortly si Sarah baka naman may pag-asa na naman siya na ano, maghari-harian siya sa Pilipinas sa happy-happy. Although even with Sara Duterte presidency, I doubt na Harry will be welcomed in the upper echelons of power at the ratings.
Yeah.
Hindi ko na siya nakikita
And
eh. Nasaan na si Harry?
he's in Austria. Well, he has to be. Kasi pending
Wink,
yung ano
wink.
niya.
Wink, wink.
He has to be kasi doon pending yung ano niya. Pero uh, also nabanggit mo yung ganyang not only yung kumbaga kung sino yung mga kausap niya, pero within the Duterte family, I've been told na there's factions, right? And we're not sure where Harry is aligned, with which group is Harry aligned with. Well, tingnan natin kung anong mangyayari. Pero walang kasiguraduhan din na kapag nanalo si Sarah, knock on wood, ay na ayaw naman tanggapin pala bilang possibility, babalik din siya sa kapangyarihan. Kasi
I,
mas dun siya sa tatay talaga.
I won't be surprised walang faction na may gusto kay Harry, but Harry will do Harry. Yun ang worry ko na kahit walang faction na may... Gagawa siya ng sariling faction sa DDS para lang gustuhan siya, magustuhan siya. Now let's go to the last part of our discussion, attorney. I know it's been a long day and week. What is your read naman dito? Kasi, ito na-cover natin yung tatay, na-cover natin yung mga alalay. O ito naman, yung anak niya, yung kanyang napakagaling na vice-presidente na gusto mag-presidente. What is your read of the impeachment hearings this time? Kasi uh, sabihin na lang natin na wala naman inducements katulad ng last year. Wala naman parating na elections, wala naman mga, alam mo naman natin. Pero mukhang mukhang there's momentum. Again, according to Associate Justice Ronald, more than 150, 153 at least ang mukhang boboto against Sara. It might be even higher because ngayon parang ina-isolate pa yung mga gusto pa kay Sara sa Kongreso. So the momentum is there. But this year is different, right? Dahil finally na-expose na itong mga bank accounts and all, which is something we have been talking about for long. I mean, actually, Senator Trillanes was talking about this in 2016 pa. So I wonder
Yeah.
bakit umabot pa hanggang ngayon na second try pa. And then you have this weird situation of them asking again the Supreme Court to coming in and then the Supreme Court making a ruling and then a certain justice coming out with like kind of with the ruling but my dissenting like what's going on there? What's your read?
Well, I think people are hedging their bets again with an eye on 2028, even if there's no elections. Well, essentially, that's the elections coming up soon. Pero weird yun no, na kung mag-hedge ka, edi neutral ka, mag-abstain ka, sabihin na natin, or kumbaga, we will try as much as possible not to be involved. Pero mukhang, one, there could be some kind of instruction. Kumbaga, or agreement. Parang gano'n na, wala na, all in na tayo dito, o kung ano man, sunog na rin tayo. Kaya, you can see a sort of core group of people na talagang, well, this is what we have to do. And in a sense, this core has been there since the previous Congress. Ito pa rin, sabihin na natin sina Luistro, sila yung noon pa, ano ba to? Prosecution team na. So, impeachment prosecution team na sila noon pa. So, ngayon parang bumabalik lang. Kaya, true enough, parang it's the same sort of set of people, core set of people. So, maybe by agreement, pero the agreement may not necessarily be quote-unquote bad on its own na parang, let's gang up on Sara. The agreement could be, tapusin natin to and it's important that the people know. Ang context nito ay marami pa rin din nagsasabi na walang conviction na mangyayari. Ako, hindi ko din matimple kasi ayoko nang tingnan that far away na parang, pero nakita ko lahat, ang mga projection is that they will lose the convict vote by either one or two votes, usually by one vote, parang 12, 13, tapos one absent. Yung mga ganon. So, hindi ko alam kung anong intention. Pero clearly, one point is to put out the information to the public. Hindi ko lang alam kung parang ang intention ba ay to let the public decide when, but we have to be careful with that, when the public, to some degree, is already, kumbaga, so polarized. Kumbaga, ay, naku, kahit ano pang ilabas nyo tungkol dyan, mahal pa rin namin yan. Mabait pa rin yan. Kumbaga, ganon. So, I don't know. Ang isang possibility na nakikita ko, labas pa sa impeachment. Kasi that's kind of political talaga. Mahirap i-control. Criminal action. And that's what worked for the father. That one you cannot avoid. Unfortunately, I cannot see how political or a criminal case against Sara Duterte would be accepted by the unang-una pa lang DOJ, Department of Justice. I'm not sure how meticulous they would be with the evidence. Baka again, mapolitika. Tapos paano siya pag ako medyo okay ako pag nagproceed sa court. Pero saktong court kumbaga, wag yung iniisip ko kasi may nagsasabi na parang you make a special court to try the vice president. No. Ibig sabihin nun, piling-pili yung mga tao. It could work both ways. one, pwedeng piling-pili na sasabi mo, this is the best of the best. Parang ICI. Pero on the other hand, pwede ding sabihin, these people were handpicked to convict or to acquit the the vice president, Sara. So ako, use the proper channels, yun lang. Pero certainly for me, a criminal trial, a criminal investigation should be open against Sara.
Right. So, attorney, it looks like though it's more of a political situation in sense na ano to kasi the reason why takot yung iba to go after Sara is precisely because ang taas ng kanyang preference rating, no? Although of course it's super early, but nevertheless approval rating, preference rating, the idea na kasi ano yung game theory, shadow future, kung ito my next president, I'm not gonna cross this person most likely, right? Or if this person has this much preference rating, I'm not gonna threaten my own potential political base, diba? So let's just be brutally honest about it. Let's level with people on that. But do you see Sara Duterte getting exposed enough in terms of yung mga alleged anomalies in a sense that it actually makes yung kanyang aura of invincibility and inevitability basically shattered, if not already shattered? I've seen some surveys, including private ones na hindi pa na-release, na basically Lenny is within single digit na lang with margin of error from Sara Duterte, which is something almost unthinkable just 6 months, 1 year ago. And this was surveys na before pa dito sa hearing na to. So there's a huge expectation na even if hindi ma-convict si Sara, this is going to be so damaging and exposing na the playing field will be leveled if not even favoring the other side. And not to mention, baka yung ibang senador, pag gaganan nila, ay wait lang, baka iba na yung direction of the wind, baka lumambot na rin yung kanilang opposition to a proper trial if not conviction. So, medyo moving target din siya. The reason I'm asking you is because ikaw, nagpa-follow ka ng pinaka-importanting court case, one of the most important court cases, which is the Duterte case. And I know this is a little bit more complicated, but nevertheless, I was hoping to get your thoughts on this.
Well, una, yung kay Sara kasi people are thinking, pader yan. Huwag kang babangga sa pader. Ako, ayaw kong paniwalaan na pader siya. At kung ano man, kung tingin nyo pader yan, guguho pa rin yan. Possibly. I'm looking at the next year, especially with the opening of the ano ba to, impeachment trial. Sabi nila, magbubukas daw within the next few months. So, pagbukas ng impeachment trial at paglatag ng mga impormasyon, mas doon talaga magkakaroon ng ako nga, iniisip ko, doon pwedeng pagsimulan or kung matapos man yung impeachment proceedings, pwedeng magbukas yung criminal trial kung saan mas lalong lalabas yung kumbaga baho. Could go the way of the impeachment trial of President Erap. 'Di ba? Yung ganung parang hindi mo alam kung ano yung parang trigger, isang click lang, the envelope dun sa impeachment trial ni Erap yun na biglang ayaw na namin. Ganyan pa naman ng mga Pilipino, mahilig sa mga tipo climax na, ayoko na talaga. Ang tanong nga lang, ano yun? Anong ano natin? Parang trigger point natin this time around. I'm seeing some indicators na ang trigger point yan magiging not exactly politics, but economics. That's something that, kala ko nga itong, kumbaga pagtaas ng sirit ng presyo ng gasolina, parang something will crack. Kasi that's what binds us. DDS ka man o kanino ka man naniniwala. Yung pagtaas ng presyo at yung socio-economic crisis ay malaking problema. So, tingnan lang natin. Kaya lang hindi ko pa alam exactly. Pero we've seen the cracks with this issue. Kaya lang ang nangyayari kasi nagkakaroon ng parang stopgap measures. Kaya parang namomolify yung mga tao. Eto nga, bumaba na, no? Magkano na ba ang baba? Kaya parang balik na ulit. Sana, hirap lang talaga pero sana yung mga Pilipino talagang magbago. Kahapon nga, buti na lang, thank you to Marina Summers. Sa Miss Universe, parang yung challenge niya, yung mga Pilipino pumili ng politiko using the same standards that they use for the beauty queens.
Napaka-thorough and Napaka-competitive and thorough and all of that. At American din siya, so siguro she can tell that the same to back in the US. But actually, mas competitive yata yung pageants natin sa Pilipinas. At saka aktivista yung batang yan, di ba? In fairness naman sa kanya. She was in, I think, some of the rallies na anti-corruption sa Pilipinas. And I think that's a perfect part for last point of our discussion. Where do you see where do you see, saan papunta ang ombudsman? Kasi the other month pa niya sinabi na by May, eto na, December na. Pero by May na, eto na talaga, yung mga totoong big fish na daw, hahabulin na nila. So mukhang Zaldi ko nag-check out na. But nevertheless, with the evidence we have, um, sino mga senadors or mga high-level officials na potentially could face something? And how important it is na mangyari na yan finally by May of 2026?
Well, yung usual suspects lang na binanggit nila. So, there's Chis Escudero, there's Ramon Revilla, well, Ramon Revilla, sabit na yan. At ano na ba si Joel Villanueva? Nahagip na ba? Hindi pa yata, no?
Si Joel, si
Ugong.
Joel, ano yan? Ano yan? May adlibs
Basta
na
yung,
nilalabas.
basta there's names that have already been floated. Pero, kaya actually, nagiging factor din yun sa, sa, what's this? Sa impeachment. Kasi kaya feeling ko parang it's a whole big chess game. Even I have been warned not to look at the ICC case. Kumbaga myopically na, tingin ka ng tingin lang ng ICC, pero the larger picture is this. Ganito ang galaw sa tatay, ganito ang galaw sa anak. Sabi ko, nasisilip naman namin yun. Pero ito din, yung galaw sa Senado with the corruption case. Kaya ang hirap kasi you always have to be on your toes. Pero kung ano't ano man, ah, yung ombudsman mabagal. Sorry to say. Ang ICI report was submitted or supposedly parang ano ba, na-consider by March 31st. There's a group that we formed, Lawyers Against Corruption. We've been waiting for the report. So one of our leaders, si Justice Alfredo Ampuan, dati from the Court of Appeals, has been waiting for that and wants to comment. Kasi parang, how do you work on an issue where there's too little information? Pero the report has not been made public. There's been a whole month na nasilip na probably ng ombudsman ito. Bakit wala pang galaw? Considering na hindi naman first time nilang nalaman ng ombudsman na yung information ng March 31st. Nalaman nyo na yan last year pa. Kaya ako mabagal. Ang hirap ding sabihin na makakaasa tayo sa ombudsman at this point. Kaya kung kami sa Lawyers Against Corruption, we're looking at some citizen-led corruption cases. Ang problem lang talaga, not too much information is out in the public or accessible to the public. Kaya yun yung isang focus din namin, yung paano ka makakapag-FOI or makapag-exercise ng freedom of information mo. So, ang daming moving pieces. Pero, hopefully, may lakas ng, ano ba to? Lakas ng loob pa tayong gawin ng lahat ng to.
Unfortunately, no choice, especially with so much going on. Obviously, ASEAN lawmakers, parliamentarians for human rights also issued a statement the other day. Unfortunately, also dun sa issue ng yung
Boso.
nangyari sa Negros Occidental, of course, the Toboso uh, encounter, massacre, whatever you want to call it. Ako naman, I try to ask from different sides to get an idea of it. I know this is a very sensitive issue and I know you have a lot on your plate, but the reason why I mentioned this because sobrang naiinis ako when I see comments na, alam mo naman, yung the same DDS style, corn beef na, or yan kasi nag-NPA kayo, yan kasi namumundok kayo. I even posted something about Philippine universities doing so bad, and then biglang mga comments, yan kasi nag-NPA. So sabi ko, okay, nag-apply yan sa UP, so anong excuse yung mga mas mababang ranking sa UP? Ginanong ko na lang, di ba? I mean, we are seeing the return of that kind of mindset again na victim blaming or not even bothering with facts or forgetting that
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we can discuss politics and everything, peace process, whatever, but we're talking about people who are trying to make the Philippines a better place. Mga estudyante ito, they come from also where I come from, Department Pol Sci sa UP, etc. So, malungkot yan for us when this is happening and to see people, again, going back to that kind of mindset na DDS na they're just making fun of a situation. It really troubles me. To the degree that, Attorney Conti, you can say something about that. I know it's a very long conversation. It's a very serious conversation. I just felt I wanted to get also your point of view on that kasi bumabalik yung trauma ko ulit when I was reading about people making fun of EJK victims. back in the day.
Yeah.
Although I'm saying this is not necessarily the same case, but that kind of mindset na
Well, so
basically
we have
just
some information about this case. NUPL generally is counsel for a few of these families. As far as we know, the facts or the ones that we have point to not to an encounter na parang lahat to NPA, pero they point to a series of incidents, and to some extent could be a massacre kasi may disproportionate response. Ang laki nung kumbaga other side compared to the other side. So sabi nila yung 19 na di umano NPA, dagdag pa natin yung sabi nila may 5 pa daw. So sabi natin 20 plus versus this whole group of soldiers. Second, yung mali yung ginawa talaga nung army, nung was it the army or military in general, na ang sabi nila, these all 19 are combatants without. And I've heard sino ba to? Kung sinong nagsasalita, sabi, si Alisa, she was holding a gun, ganon. I don't think he was there, so he's not speaking from personal information. I think he was told by someone itong ginagawa. So without fact finding that is dapat impartial, dapat fair, tapos dapat thorough talaga, hindi mo masasabi yung ganon. The proper stance would have been, we will investigate. And that's what we support. Later on, may madidisclose na grabe, horrifying circumstances, horrifying developments, kaya nakakainis talaga tong kasong to. Pero on the other hand, on the whole concept of, bakit nga ba may NPA? Parang gano'n naman yung punto kasi nag-aakyat kayo dyan, kasi gano'n. You know how to eliminate the NPA? Eliminate their rationale. Kanilang, the will to live nila. And their will to live is based on lack of government services in the countryside. Kung nasasagot yon, I don't think may susulpot na ganyang klaseng armed group. And even if, say, I'm sorry, pero this is not exactly analogous, pero in the case of Mindanao, even if you eliminate entirely the NPA, wala nang NPA, zero na yung mga yan, another group will come up. An offshoot, a new group, a small group, a regional group, until and unless you answer their demands. Kaya tingnan nyo, sorry, yung sa Mindanao, 'di ba? Mahaba siya and complicated, pero it's in a sense still running dahil hindi pa rin nasasagot. Nabigyan na kayo ng autonomy. Pero ang reklamo ng BARM, 'di ba? So may BARM na, wala man silang budget. Hindi nila mapatakbo yung sa transition council nila to move into tapos ngayon parang napopolitika, but that's another matter. So hanggang hindi mo talaga nasa-solve yung kumbaga concerns nila, and verily yung isa doon ay that they don't get sufficient government services, they're not going to die essentially. And eto pa, tapos napaisip na ako, oo nga no, somebody has to study ano yung nagiging effect nitong quote-unquote martyrs. Ang tawag nila dyan, martyrs, Alisa, etc. Because the effect of martyrdom, yung pagpatay nila, you might have killed 19, but the impact of that is that 200 others will join.
We see that in the Middle East,
2,000
diba?
others.
Yeah, we see that in the Middle East. I mean, ang daming pinapatay
Yeah.
ng mga Western powers, and then actually bumabalik sila even stronger, and even harder.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, totally military deadlock nangyari. So
And
I don't
plus,
understand
they
that
will get
mindset.
supporters. So, magnify yan. Kaya, if before, the number one recruiter of the NPA, 1980s, was Ferdinand Marcos himself, senior. From 13, I read this somewhere, pero 13 NPAs lang ang hawak nila, or 13 guns, ganyan. They grew to about 2,000 during martial law. I guess now, it's the circumstances. The junior could also be the reason why there could be a resurgence in not only the NPA but armed groups all over the regions, lalo na dun sa mga places which are highly militarized. Remember that the
Yeah.
NPA is essentially a defensive group, para tong hukbalahap parang ganun yung hugot nila na may armed group na umaatake sa lugar, nandito sa lugar namin, nagbabase, we need to resist.
I didn't want to end on that note because it's a very complicated issue and I'm down in layers. But I just felt I cannot finish this conversation without asking you about that kasi nga mahalaga and now it's getting international attention for the right reason and hanggang ngayon I'm trying to dig in and figure out what's going on kasi the responses online are very polarized. Eh. Automatically each side is blaming the others. Ako naman inisip ko lang yung mga bata na namatay sa gitna. These are journalists, these are students, these are people from the same worlds that
There's two minors.
exactly, there are minors here, and of course there are also Filipino American folks there. I know people na Filipino Americans. And the thing is, for a moment lang, we can put aside all of the debates about armed conflict and when is philosophically, let's say, di ba, armed resistance the valid way forward. We can have a long debate about that and discuss Frantz Fanon and all. But for me, I think we should not forget that even if marami tayong mga reklamo sa Metro Manila, national, international level. Of course, ako mostly based in Metro Manila, although I come from Baguio, among others. Um, some of the worst thing in the country actually ang nangyari sa labas ng Luzon and Metro Manila, among other things. And you could see na itong mga kabataan na ito, they were really radicalized by the level of parang immeasurable, unfathomable injustice that they were seeing a lot across the country, di ba? Kasi at least in Manila, in some parts, you see some sort of development, some growth, some mobilization, some ano. But if you go across the country, there are really places there na talaga mararadicalize ka na. So I think instead of just debating about whether armed conflict or armed resistance is the way forward or peace process, we have to also pay more attention na ano ba nangyari in the rest of the country? Because I think that's something that unfortunately a lot of people are doing great activism at the national level in Manila, etc. Baka they're not paying enough attention to and yun, I think ang problema rin sa atin sa Pilipinas, we're very parang parati may automatic reflexive judgment pag left or commie or something like that. And I don't know if this is the legacy of American
Or
colonialism or not.
UP.
Yeah, we don't see that. I don't see that in other countries and all. Yung sa atin parang automatically, ay, kasi NPA, kasi ganito. Eh, natanong ko, okay, bakit nga may NPA, di ba? Bakit may ganun, di ba? Maybe you want to look at the situation there, yung kalagayan ng ating mga magsasaka, kalagayan ng mga indigenous people, sa mga other things, di ba? Not to mention there are times na wala naman talaga NPA involved. It's just that some indigenous peoples are trying to defend themselves. I think Calyodi, di ba? The other year was with some of them, binarilan pa sila ng mga goons ng mga
Mhm.
illegal logger. I mean, so it's very important people care to understand gaano kamalala yung situation across the country. And that's why you have many, many great people, including Alisa, really getting radicalized and thinking that the real fight is actually out there rather than in the classrooms or rather than in Metro Manila per se. Thank you so much, Attorney Conte. I'm sure that's a very long conversation. I know you're dealing with a lot kasi baka mamaya
Yeah.
madamay pa kita sa mga ibang problema. But thank you so much for your honesty and this very thorough conversation. Gusto ko lang i-remind sa mga tao na you're a full-fledged active citizen, you're a full-fledged defender of human rights, and you're someone who cares about all of these issues. Kaya nga dinidikit-dikit natin yan. Ikaw lang at saka si Ronald Llamas ang ginaganon ko eh. Yung sample topics na I put together. Although there's a slight difference, except you're directly involved in some of these cases. But this is out of appreciation and respect for your service to the country, Attorney Conti, and we continue to follow you.
Same.
Again, for those people who are just tuning in now, how can people follow you again at Attorney Conti and also follow on itong mga developments na pinag-usapan natin, particularly on the issue of ICC?
Well, so NUPL is at nupl.net, website po yan, and NUPL Philippines ang handle sa Twitter tsaka Facebook. But I also have my own Facebook, so Christina Conti, and also X, where I put out some updates. If you want to follow the ICC, so I'm trying to figure out, hanap ako ng oras, pero we might put up a microsite about the ICC on our page sa nupl.net so that people could access. We've come up with a few materials pero na-realize ko, kalat-kalat. So, okay pa ba yun? May nagwe-website pa ba? Pero, sige, tingnan
Kailangan para
natin.
mukhang legit. Kasi kung wala kang website, nagtatanong tao, baka walang budget to or mga
Hindi, I mean,
scam to.
kumbaga, ang uso kasi ngayon parang ano, Dropbox, gano'n. So, yung mga, o kaya, sabi na, i-Viber nyo na lang, attorney. Sabi ko, parang, ano
Hindi
naman,
na yata
baka,
usong Dropbox, medyo luma na rin yan.
ay, mas lumawa. So anyway, watch out for that. We might put that out in May at the least. Merong central place for some of our Q&As, for some of our primers.
Maraming salamat, Attorney Conti. Have a blessed weekend and talk to you soon, hopefully in person, if not otherwise tuloy-tuloy natin in different platforms. God bless and talk to you soon.
Thank you, ingat.
God bless.